I was born and raised in a city called Montreal. And for those who don't know, Montreal is a city where you need to know how to speak French, Amber, and it's a language I didn't know. So my whole life, I had to present in a language I didn't know. Right. So I was challenged with that. And then the third big challenge is my left arm. I grew up with a crooked left arm because of an accident I had at birth when I was born. And the doctor pulled me out with like a vacuum. So I was also really self-conscious about speaking because when you stand up, obviously online, you can't tell it all. Yeah. But when I'm standing up and I'm in person, you see my left arm is crooked. So I was really self-conscious about that as a kid. So the message here is if I could do it, I mean, yeah, anybody listening to this podcast can be a great speaker for sure.
Hello and welcome to Pathways. I am your host, Amber Stitt. Well, welcome to the show, Brenden. Thank you so much for being here.
It's great to be on, Amber. Thanks for having me.
I want to start our episode together with a quote by you. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
You say, I believe the next Elon Musk is a 7-year-old girl who can't afford communication or a communications coach. So it's your duty to be able to help her succeed with resources. Where did this begin?
Yeah, it definitely didn't start with that quote. That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah.
I want to meet this girl.
For me, it started, Amber, in college, actually. So I went to school for accounting, which is the opposite of what I do today. And then when I was studying in accounting, I started doing these things called case competitions. Think of it like professional sports for nerds. It's like other guys my age are like playing
counting
rugby.
Beans, competitive counting beans.
I wish. It was like presentations, like Nerd Fest. So like other guys were doing like soccer or rugby or something, and I was doing presentations. But it was never with the intention of doing anything in communication. I was just coaching people for fun without any experience, people my age in college because I thought it was cool. And I started working at IBM as a consultant there. You know, I was just a tech guy there. I had a lot of fun. I wanted to be an executive there. And I just accidentally developed a talent for speech coaching. And I realized a lot of people weren't sharing free stuff on it. So I started making videos in my mom's basement that it led into what it is.
Yeah. Well, people have started great things in their garage. Could be a basement. It doesn't matter, right? So you get the experience, just trial and error. And that's the beauty of really life, I suppose, especially as you get older, like myself, you go through things and then you realize, wow, there's a solution I can build in because I'm good at it. And then you have to celebrate that, not downplay the gifts. So did you always start your MasterTalk program? Like, was that right out of the gate or did it take some time while working with some of your clients?
Yeah, it's a great question, Amber. Like the first 9 months of MasterTalk, actually, there was no coaching program. So the money I was making was from my IBM, right? I didn't even know you could get paid to be a coach. I really wish I had known this earlier. True story. So I've been coaching since I was 19. I'm 27 currently. So this is my I'm turning 28 this year. So it's my 9th year coaching this year. But I started at 19, but I only started doing it on paid basis in 2019. So when I was 22 as my first paid client. So the first 3 years of this was really just a give. Not because I'm Mother Teresa, by the way, but because IBM was paying me like a fat check to work there. So I was thinking MasterTalk was like a business. It was like a hobby. Sure. But then in 9 months into MT, when I went to Summit of Greatness, like an event Lewis Howes hosts in Columbus, Ohio, he's like a podcaster. So I went there and I met my business partner there, and that changed my life. And then everything went from there.
Yeah, focusing on community is big for me, just in my own path. And you never know. Sometimes there's like, okay, if we're going to go out and attend a conference, really trying to make it worthwhile, you never know what kind of strategic partner can be there, and just keep your mind open.
Totally.
So let's go back in time. As you're doing these cases and coaching pro bono, we'll call it, was there a natural set of no-nos that everyone's just doing and you're seeing it and you're like, man, if they could just tweak this thing, it would just change the dynamic?
Absolutely, Amber. So one is a direct answer to your question. And the second is more like what I felt was missing in general within communication. So let's start with the first one. So the first one is like kind of the obvious, not obvious ones, you know, like, don't put your hands in your pockets. Those are the obvious ones. But then you have the non-obvious ones, which is sometimes when people speak, they keep their eyes really closed in conversation. So they don't look really expressive when they talk. So obviously it's hard to show on a podcast.
Am I doing that right now?
No, so notice how you look way more expressive now? So it's actually a big difference. So it's like talk like this versus this, you notice there's just a lot more vibrance in when I communicate.
Sure.
So that's less obvious. And then completely oblivious is something like having deep relationships in conversations with your key audience. What a lot of speakers do is they talk and they kind of just leave. because they're like a speaker and they think they're so cool. Whereas people like Gary Vee, who are getting paid like $200,000 are at the top of our industry. Like even at his level, he's still sitting down and meeting fans and talking to them and understanding who they are and asking them questions. And most people just don't do that.
I think you'll notice sometimes, and even comedians do this, they get into the audience. Is that what you mean? A little more of that, playing off maybe the audience a bit?
You got it. And I'll give you some more tactics, like questions, like even when I was starting MasterTalk and I didn't have any clients or anything, I think the reason why my content resonated with people relatively early in my career, surprisingly, by the way, it's not something I predicted very accurately, is because even when I was broke, now today I got clients and things are going well, but like back then, I would sit down with my friends that I was coaching and we would have like 5-hour dumpling sessions back when dumplings were like $10 at a restaurant. Now it's, I know with inflation, it's probably like $100 the same dumpling. And I would sit there and I would ask them questions, Amber. I'll give you a few examples of those. So the first one is, hey, if you were in my shoes, how would you communicate my ideas better? Another question that I got from Kevin Systrom, the founder of Instagram, is, if you had to change one thing about my presentation or my coaching, what would you change and why? And the reason I love this question is because it forces negative feedback. Because most people just go, oh, no, it's great. You're great. No. If you had to change. So let's say somebody does the coaching. Hey, I know you love the coaching, but if you had to take out one class, what would you take out and why? They're like, I guess week 3. And I was like, why week 3? And then they kind of start talking. And that's the feedback. And then the third question would be, who could you introduce me that you think could help me expand on my ideas? And it doesn't have to be for a client or for money. Just like, oh, you should talk to my dad who's like a professor in communication. And then that leads to some crazy stuff.
It's kind of that open-ended, more natural. It's like if you're in sales and you say, can you refer me to a friend? And the referral word, you're like, But if you can say something that's more relatable to them, oh yeah, I have an idea for you. I'll connect you with this person. It's just more natural, more genuine.
Correct. And in sales, that works really well. And in my case, it's really in the context of ideas. Because remember, when I was 22, it wasn't even like, oh, I could get a client. I didn't even know you could charge until maybe 9 months later. Now I'm a lot more well-oiled in. But back then, I had no idea. So like one example I remember, one of my friends, Sam, he lives in New Zealand. I didn't ask the question as formally as I gave it on the podcast. I said like, bro, like, who do you think I should talk to like help me out with MasterTalk? He's like, oh, you should meet my friend Billy. And I get on a call with Billy, great guy. I'm visiting him next month. He's one of my best friends. And then like 5-10 minutes into that initial conversation, I'm like, wow, this guy's really nice. I was like, so what do you do? Like, and he's like, oh, I'm the senior vice president of onboarding for Tesla. I report 2 levels under Elon Musk. I was like, whoa, what? I was like, why is this guy talking to me? So yeah, you never know where that question can lead you. And then I had to get on a call with him. We resonate so much. He loves what I'm doing with Master. At this point, I still don't have a client. I just got started with MasterShop and he gave me a ton of ideas. And then it was only 10 minutes into the conversation that I realized the guy reported 2 levels under Elon Musk and it was the senior vice president of onboarding there. And I was like, cool. So you never know where that question can lead you. And I think that's a big mistake a lot of people make with speaking, is they don't really take the time to actually talk to their audience, like get to know them, like have dinners with them. And it's those in-person conversations that really made my content soar really quickly, I think, in the industry.
Do you think anybody could be practiced enough to get on that stage and tell their story?
I do. I really believe that. And the reason I'm a big believer in this, because I know obviously I sound a little bit better these days, but when I was a kid, I sucked at public speaking. For 3 main reasons. The first one, obviously, who studies in accounting and then becomes a public speaking coach? Like nobody does. That's literally the opposite of like what I do.
I'm in financial services. So yes. Do you think I lead conversations about insurance? Sometimes, not always. Not well received.
There you go. It's not going to work. That's one. The second one is I was born and raised in a city called Montreal. And for those who don't know, Montreal is a city where you need to know how to speak French, Amber, and it's a language I didn't know. So my whole life, I had to present in a language I didn't know. Right. So I was challenged with that. And then the third big challenge is my left arm. I grew up with a crooked left arm because of an accident I had at birth when I was born. And the doctor pulled me out with like a vacuum. So I was also really self-conscious about speaking because when you stand up, obviously online, you can't tell it all. Yeah. But when I'm standing up and I'm in person, you see my left arm is crooked. So I was really self-conscious about that as a kid. So the message here is if I could do it, I mean, yeah, anybody listening to this podcast can be a great speaker for sure.
You're listening to Pathways with Amber Stitt. For more episodes like this, plus so much more, check out the podcast page at amberstitt.com. Let's take action together. Now let's get back to our episode. I know that some people like the conversation on podcasts better than maybe say keynote, but do you think really, and if you want to step into more of a leadership role or that communication realm where really telling your story, it makes a difference. You can maybe be more comfortable in one, but have to do the other. But overall, keep evolving and practicing communications because it's really a way of life, the way I've seen it.
I think you're absolutely right, Amber. The way I think about it is communication is like juggling 18 balls at the same time, right? So one of them is ums and ahs, one of them is eye contact, one of them is pacing, but one of them is also knowing how to guest on a podcast, knowing how to host a podcast. Like I'm a lot better of a guest than a host. I talk too much. So you being the host makes my life easy. And then the other piece as well is keynoting. Keynoting is a completely different skill. So yes, even me, I'm still learning, but the key is really to master one of these mediums at a time. So with that executive, if they're really weak at podcasting, but really good at keynoting, the feedback is like, hey, if you can't get onto podcasts, who cares? Just get your friend. I couldn't get onto podcasts 5 years ago. Just get a friend to interview you. Just get on a Zoom call. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So you I know you have to build it out to make it work for you. And there's really no rules, but you do have to practice and get that exposure. That experience is key, especially with global competition out there now. A lot of AI, a lot of people talking about leaning into it. But ultimately, as humans, our communication skills are really, I think, going to set us apart, even more so now than ever.
Absolutely. To build on that point, like I think the big competitive advantage, especially for most of the executives I'm coaching, and that's what they're really resistant on, is the idea of embracing the human side of the equation, like becoming personal brands. And this is not something that executives really thought about 20, 30 years ago. It's like, oh, should I be posting on LinkedIn? Should I be creating content on thought leadership? Whereas today, I would argue it's actually a huge competitive edge. Like if you're like a vice president of a biotech company, most people in biotech aren't posting at all on LinkedIn. Whereas if you're showing like a clip every week on like the state of the market and the industry, all of your competitors will also know who you are. And then they'll say, hey, why are you working at that company? Why don't you come work at ours and be an SVP? We'll increase your salary and whatnot.
That's an interesting point. I've had a lot of people say, oh, LinkedIn, I just get spammed. That's true. That happens. But get over that because I think more now than ever, people are on LinkedIn utilizing that as a ground to, like you said, the competitor might see you and offer you a more exclusive deal. If you're a self-employed entrepreneur, maybe that's where you find your strategic partners. I know I have. I've actually had people say, I see what you do. Hey, can we talk and build a webinar together or something like that? So you never know. Sky's the limit. But then if you're not able to, as an executive, really get into knowing, like say, if it's a national business or global, you can't meet everybody. There's no other way besides potentially putting some video out there so you have that personal touch that people know more about you. You can do that through the video.
I totally agree, Amber. Like the way I see it, even for people who are scared, like, oh, do I need to go viral? Do I need to do this? I don't even see personal branding that way. The way I see it is like the people in your professional network, let's say you got 2,000 connections on LinkedIn. You can't possibly keep in touch with all 2,000 of them. So video is a way for you to kind of share what you're up to or share something about your life. And that's why when I attend events locally in Montreal, I like staying inside mostly because I hibernate a lot. Whenever I need to go to events, most of my friends, when they come up to me, I always go like, man, I haven't seen you in a few years. And they go, man, well, I talk to you every day. Like you're always on social media.
Yeah.
So that's an easy way to keep in touch with people. And then that gets shared out to people and you never know what opportunities come your way. Like I'm sure it's happened with both of us in our careers.
Yeah. So why do you think people struggle a bit with public speaking? Like just naturally, we talked about some of our own personal, just knowing conversation styles, but what do you think it is within us that makes it hard?
Yeah, fantastic question, Amber. For me, every coach will give you a different perspective. Somebody will go more science, the other people will go more academic. I'm not that style, as you can tell. So I'll give you more of an anecdote, why I think this starts. Let's think about this. Where do we learn how to present as children in a formal setting the first time? The answer is school, right?
Yeah.
It's school. It's elementary, it's middle school, it's high school. And that's true whether you live in the US, whether you live in Canada, whether you live in like India or China, it doesn't really matter. But here's the thing, Amber. All of those presentations that you do in class have 3 fundamental problems, big problems. The first one is all of them are mandatory. We don't wake up one morning and go, hey, Amber, you want to get breakfast and present all day? Nobody says that. So you don't only get up and present all day just because you want to. Number 2, all of those presentations are about a subject you don't care about. So it's never, hey, Amber, what are you passionate about? Numbers, finances, insurance, family, podcasting. Now you got to talk about Shakespeare and poetry and the Renaissance, and you don't have a choice in the matter either. That's number 2. And then
that sounds like more Canadian. That was like very Frenchy French education. No.
Yeah, no, literally. Yeah, you can tell. Yeah. Because I speak French.
We had a little bit of that in civics, right?
Yeah. Maybe the Renaissance, it's like the Civil War, I guess, in the US. I don't know what they teach you guys in American. I don't know.
You sound very fancy with your
Yeah, it's true. It's the first time it's still maybe like the Declaration of Independence. I don't know, whatever you got to talk about. So that's number 2. And then number 3, which is honestly the biggest challenge, is that all of those presentations are tied to a punishment, Amber. So like if you don't do a great job, not only do you not get the pat on the back, you get a slap in the face and you lose grades.
Red marker and an F.
Exactly. So you grow up believing that communication is a chore, so it becomes one.
That is interesting. That actually is a little sciencey if you think about it, because potentially we're building that brain matter or whatever they say with that, attaching it to, I'm going to cram for this because I don't love it. So I'm going to then try to wing it. And then there's anxiety. And then there's that potential bad grade. Yeah. I mean, you're onto something there. And
Thanks, Amber.
I know that the entrepreneurs that we talk to, you podcast a lot of them have this common threshold that traditional educational kind of what we get put into doesn't always set us up for success. And they're usually talking about money and finance, but this communications class might not be so great either if it's, the curriculum's not interesting to us. Yeah.
Well said. I totally agree. That's really the point, is like, it's that conditioning. So it could be science. I'm glad that's the best compliment you give me. Honestly.
Conditioning. Pavlov's dogs or Pavlov's
Yeah, it's like the dog, and then there's like food, and then our
there's no treats for us. Yeah.
There's no treats. Just slap.
Just stress and sweating, perspiring and stress.
Absolutely. And that's why, by the way, I started my career coaching kids, because I wanted to see when the fear of public speaking started. And you see it right away when a kid is like 9 or 10, 11 years old, even if I'm being super sweet to them, and they just have to do a simple exercise. Some of them start crying, some of them start freaking out. But that's not because of the environment.
It's not you.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it is. Who knows? No. You got to ask them. But it's really the school, because their memories, and that's what we have as adults, are just all negative about speaking versus like dancing. Well, not for everyone, but for like a lot of us, or like sports for guys, right? So that's the key.
Okay. So you have some exercises that you do to help just keep you in the zone. Is it different for adolescents versus adults?
So surprisingly, Amber, it isn't. It's actually the same thing. Whether my client is a $10 million CEO or whether they're a 13-year-old kid, I don't really work with kids that much anymore, but you get what I mean, is like, it's the same exact process. It's just the way that advice is contextualized will change. So if I'm talking to the executive, I was like, do this exercise. And the reason you do it is because you got to deal with uncertainty at work and you got to sell more offers. So the messaging is different. But with the kid, it's like, it's still the same exercise. But for them, it's like, you're going to be a lot more confident in the classroom. You're going to be able to do well in your history presentation that you hate, and et cetera. But it's the same advice regardless. And I'm happy to talk into that as well.
Yeah. I mean, are you allowed to give a little bit of I
can give you all of it.
A little one? Yeah. A freebie?
Yeah, I give you a bunch of freebies. So my philosophy is always, remember, the mission is the next Elon Musk is a 7-year-old girl, right? Can't afford a communication coach. So for me, it's about sharing everything for free. Like, people work with you privately, they'll work with you privately. But the key is, before we get into the tips, is communication, like we said earlier, is like juggling 18 balls at the same time. So what I've asked to myself, and that's really the angle I've took in with this field, Amber, is like, what are the 3 easiest balls to juggle? Because if you pick those 3 up, then you can build momentum. So I created a framework called RQV. So what I'll do is I'll teach R, I'll throw it back to you, and then we'll do Q and then V together. So what is R? What is the first exercise that you do in my version of speaking? The first one is the random word exercise. So you take any word you want. Phone, glass, cartoon, metal, home, completely random words. And you create 60-second presentations out of thin air, and you practice that a few times a day.
I just picture like Will Ferrell screaming like meatloaf, ma, like weird,
I love Will
Ron
Ferrell.
Burgundy. So is this almost like an improv where you just loosen up and don't take it so serious?
That's correct. And by the way, if you want, Amber, it's optional. I can demonstrate the exercise if you want. Like, I got to eat what I preach, right? But the idea is like, there's two lessons from the random word exercise. The first one is, and people who are taking notes can take this down if you want, is if you can make sense out of nonsense, you can make sense out of anything. So if you can talk about like insurance, well, actually, you know insurance pretty well, but like headphones or like, I don't, but like, you know, like a mattresses or something. When you go back to your subject matter expertise, it's really easy for you to talk about what you're doing. And the second utility, the second feature to this is small talk. All of us suck at small talk. It's just a random conversation you're having with somebody. But if you can talk about cups or trophies, you're really good at small talk. You can think quickly.
There was a workshop I did with Vin Zhang, and he would talk about...
I love Vin. Yeah.
Okay, goofball, but linking. And I suppose you can link with random objects. It's just finding those ways to kind of link the story together and just being comfortable with that. And that's where I had done some improv style and reading from children's books and doing funny vocal exercises.
Vin's definitely a special guy, that's for sure. He has a very different approach to speaking than I do. But yes, I agree. Whereas my version of that is the first couple of times you do the random word exercise, you'll be really nervous. You'll go like, battery is something.
No, it is. It's weird. Why would we get so nervous about that?
Yeah. And the reason is because we're taught as human beings to think in a structured way. I mean, think about insurance, right? The field that you're in. Like, if you're not structured and you don't know the answer to everything a client asks you, they're going to look at you and go like, I don't know if I should buy this insurance. Whereas communication, fundamentally, communication is unstructured. It's somebody calls you out of the blue and says, Amber, I need you to go here and can you help me with this? And you're like, oh, okay, I need to jump in here and do this. Or it's you're on a stage and somebody asks you a random question out of the blue.
Yeah.
That's what real life is. And that's what the random word teaches you.
Very cool. Okay, so that's R.
You got it. So that's R. Now let's go to Q of RQV. So Q stands for the question drill. And I always like to start with a story, which is, a few years ago, I sucked at being a guest on podcasts. I don't think I'm a lot better these days, but I've got a little bit better. And I remember back then, I was so bad at it. Because remember, I was like 22, I think, when I started MasterTalk. And I was being interviewed by like serious people. Like you. Like you're a serious person, right? You got a big insurance thing. So like they were asking me some funny questions. I remember one question was like
you felt like you're in an interview, like, tell me what your least quality is. You know, those weird questions in corporate HR.
Yeah, I like that one. Mine was worse, actually. Mine was, where does the fear of communication come from? And I was like, I don't know, dude. Florida?
Science.
Science. So I had no idea. I was like lost. I was like, what are you talking? And I was so embarrassed. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to make a mistake again in a podcast. So what I did is every day, Amber, and you could apply this for anything, I answered one question that I thought the world would ask about my expertise every single day.
Yeah.
So day one is like, what tips you got for introverts? What's your vision for MasterTalk? All this stuff. But if you do that for a year, you'll have answered 365 questions. It'll be bulletproof.
Well, you just wrote your book. You realize that.
There you go. It's done.
Transcribe that. Get it out there. You got to go back and transcribe all this. So are you an introvert?
It's a tough question, right? I'm probably like an ambivert technically, right? Where it's like, I mean, I think everyone's an ambivert. Ambivert, for those who are listening, just means like
it's
you have
extrovert.
Oh, Amber. Yeah. That's good. That's good. I see why you do all in insurance, because you're the only one in insurance who isn't boring. So everyone's just like, oh, I should just work with Amber. So yes, I would say technically to the world, I'm an extrovert.
Sure.
But like at home, I'm probably an introvert. I just know how to play the part of an extrovert because obviously I'm a communication coach. So obviously as I'm speaking to, I sound like an extrovert. And this is fun for me too. It's not like this is draining or anything. But like the way my meetings are structured, just so it gives you an idea into my life. Like Tuesday, today, the day we're recording, I literally have back-to-back Zoom calls from 10 to 8. So I stack all my calls in one shot. I had like 10 sales calls today, then podcast interview, then a coaching call with the client and all that. But then I get like 3 days off. Then I just sleep and I think for like 2-3 days. So I guess I'm an introvert.
Go in, game on. Is it because you like to do your hair and makeup in the same day like I do? No.
It's funny. I don't think I showered today, so I don't think there's much. I think it's just my light. You know the trick? A lot of people have been saying that about my face. I'll take it as a compliment.
What? It's just nice and...
There's like a glow. It's because I've been trying like a face care routine and it's like working well. Yeah. It's like a...
Yeah, it looks nice and just like... polished, like you have your foundation on.
Yeah, there you go.
So there you go. Now you can do some makeup videos next.
There you go. I'll be like, yeah.
Okay, so you're not an introvert And again, I guess the importance of me bringing this up is I have an uncle who has a podcast, but he is better for himself. He said this is on stage. He's like the guy roaming the stage like a jaguar or something, you know,
like
boom,
a hunter
boom.
or something. He's like,
yes. And like Vargas is very much like that.
Yes,
I've taken his workshop, and then he gets into the crowd, really looks you in the eye. You know, it's really great. And then there's some that might like the more conversational, or like some people can just grab their phone and on the go and take a video, or some people want to prep more. So just finding your way, but you got to be doing these things like the executives you talk about. Like you have to do it, even if you're behind the scenes or other people on the team are making the decisions. People still want to know who you are. So with introverts, do you have any tips to just kind of shake out? I mean, we talked about some of the hacks, and we're going to get to the third point too after questions. But is there any special sauce for that introvert, just to say, pluck it out of like the, you know, kind of like the basement we talk about in Strength Finders? There's things that we're not great at, but sometimes you got to pull from your basement, the thing that you're not highly talented in, and just give it a go. But over time, it can not feel so hard.
Absolutely, Amber. And by the way, one thing I want to highlight that I don't think other guests would highlight is I love the fact that you invest so much in yourself. I think that's so awesome. Right? You did Pete's training and Vin's training, and that explains why you're a great communicator. So good stuff, by the way.
Thank you.
So yes, I agree on the point with introverts. Here's the line I would drop. The advice is very similar. There's just two nuances. The first nuance is when I'm coaching an introvert, which is like 70% of the people I work with, is I get them to do it on easy mode. So easy mode just means, who said you had to do the random word exercise in front of other people?
Ooh.
You don't have to. Mm-hmm. Right? Just do it alone in your mirror, in front of your mirror. For Q, question drills, you don't have to practice in front of everybody. Just every day, look up a question, think about it, and just write out your answer. And if you want, just record it on a free voice recorder app on your phone. And that's it. That's all you have to do. But the other piece, which is, I think, the more important nuance, is what a lot of introverts don't really understand, is that there's a lot of key aspects of communication they're actually more talented at than an extrovert like me, who's more extroverted than introverted. So I'll walk you through what those are really fast. It's pausing, it's listening, and it's relatability. So pausing means, because introverts talk less on average, Amber, it's a lot easier for them to pause. Whereas for me, I yap a lot, as you can tell from this podcast. You have to kind of like jump in. You're like, hey, I want to talk too. So I like dominate the conversation a lot.
I have to zip it.
No, you're good. You're fine. I'm the one who's talking too much, but that's the key, right? So I needed to learn how to pause from introverts, right? So that I could get better at this. And I'm a lot better at that in coaching than on podcasting. But the second piece is listening. Right. So obviously introverts speak less, so naturally they'll listen more on average. Whereas me as an extrovert, because I'm talking all the time, I'm not spending enough time listening. So I should spend a few years getting better at that. And the last one is relatability. So like there's people who will say with Gary Vaynerchuk, you'll either love the guy or hate the guy, but there's nothing in between. So I'm a great example of somebody who loves the guy, right? So I'm a huge Gary Vee fan. I went to his event in 2017, years before I started Master. He's a big inspiration to me. But to other people, he's like the devil. It's like, oh my God, this guy swearing all the time. Yeah. He's horrible for my family. Whereas nobody says that about Brene Brown. And that's really the key.
Yeah, that's interesting. I can't imagine people just don't like the guy. But, you know, sometimes I guess there's, like we've talked about early on, there can be haters the more popular you are. So can't please everybody, I suppose. So the pause, I think, is really important. And I have to practice that too, because it can feel awkward. Right?
Absolutely.
But it can be very powerful. Making a pause is part of like that, almost like that punctuation.
I'm with you. Yeah, pausing is so important in speeches, especially when you're doing a presentation in front of other people. Because if you just ramble throughout the whole presentation, then people won't know what are the most important parts of a speech, versus if you go, this is the most important point that I want to share today.
Yeah.
And it's this, people go, oh, like that pause, that beat helps them realize emotionally and also to their attention, okay, Brendan's about to say the most important thing. Next, I got to pay attention now because he's pausing.
After Q, questions.
After Q. So RQV. The third one is the video message. So here's what you do. Really simple. You take out your phone and you send a video message to somebody that you love. That's it. Could be a business partner. Could be a significant other. It could be a kid in college. It could be a client of yours that you love, that you adore. And then the 20-second video message is just about telling them that you're thinking about them and one thing you're grateful for them about. And the most important part of this rule, is you are not allowed under any circumstances to retake the video. That is it. That is the only rule to this game. And I take this to an nth degree. I invented something. So I'll take it as my IP. I call it BVMs. I didn't invent the video message for sure, but the BVM, which is the birthday video message. So on people's birthday, what I do, I have like a Google Calendar. It tells me all my top 100 clients, what their birthday is, all that stuff. Fun. And on their birthday, I put a silly $15 hat on that I got from Amazon, and I send them a birthday video message. They love it. They eat that up. And I made a lot of money off of that strategy too.
No way. So you got the $15, got the hat on, and it's just about, you just have to be silly and wing it and can't shoot again.
That's it. Can't shoot again. Yeah. Especially when you're doing the volume I'm doing, you cannot shoot again. Like it's like you just send 20 videos straight for 10 minutes and then you move on to the next thing. But yeah, it's super helpful. And the reason it is because human beings value scarcity. So like I'm the only human being in their life who's sending them a wacky, weird birthday message so they never forget me for the rest of their life. And that's what leads to more business indirectly.
Well, they're invoking the emotion of that. Like it's fun and joyful. So there's probably that connection there against science, but we're not scientists. So
you might be though, because you got a little sciencey in you, but yeah, I'm definitely not.
No, just trying to be cool over here and keep up. So, all right. So how does someone get on your VIP Zoom coaching session that you got? Do you still do your every 2 weeks a Zoom?
I do. Absolutely. Session? So there's two ways to keep in touch, Amber. The first one is definitely to join that free training. So I do a free workshop every 2 weeks. And it's a 90-minute Zoom call. People can join. It's free. It's a lot of fun. Kids join that call. Big executives join that call. It's like a party. And the workshop link is rockstarcommunicator.com. And then the second way to keep in touch is DM me on Instagram and tell me what you thought of the episode. And my handle is masteryourtalk, and that's YOUR for your.
Awesome. Well, we'll link that up into the description box and lots of tidbits to implement. If there's somebody that's going to listen to this episode and hang up and just, what should be the first thing that they can just try on their own, no one watching? What should they be doing?
100% RQV. Pick whichever you like. So what I always like to tell people is I'm like a restaurant menu. Right? So I'll give you what's on the I force clients to do all three. Like they got to do all three. They don't have a choice because they've chosen me as their dictator / coach to get them to run.
No pain, no gain, people.
Yeah. I'm definitely that kind of. I'm no David Goggins. That guy scares me. But he scares me. But yes, but I'm definitely in that ecosystem. But the point is, pick your favorite one. I don't care if it's R, the random word exercise. I don't care if it's Q, the question drill. Like if you have a job interview coming up, or you're going to be on a podcast soon, or you're doing sales calls right now, or it's V, it's video message. Just pick one of the three and just say, I'll commit to doing this. Because guess what? This is the most important insight I'll share today. The best way to speak is to speak. I know it's like a breathtaking.
Just do it.
It's life-changing, but yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's the key.
I think it's the KISS method. Keep it simple. Well, we won't say stupid. Well, we'll just say stupid, but no, keep it simple, right? You know, Absolutely. You got to just do it, get out there and do it. So been looking forward to recording with you. So I appreciate you joining us today. So it's been awesome. Lots of laughs. Amber. Can't wait to see you in the Zoom room.
There you go. Thanks, Amber.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Pathways. For more information about the podcast, books, articles, the blog, and so much more, please visit my website at amberstitt.com. And remember, let's take action today. Thank you for listening.